From the city-states of Eorzea to the distant land of Tyrell and all of Atheris via the magic of podcasting, this is episode 72 of A Podcast Reborn, a show celebrating our journey in the past, present, and possible future of Final Fantasy XIV. This episode is being recorded on Sunday, October 5th of 2025. Following podcast may contain mature language and spoilers for the game. As always, you have been warned. My name is Brian Black, otherwise known as Ro, and I did not have time to write something funny and witty to insert here, so that's the funny and witty to insert here. With me, as always, are my two wonderful co-hosts. First off, we have our old man blogger, machinist, and dice roller, who has me very, very curious about what scheduled post on his Blue Sky got deleted today. Hi, Brandon.
How's it going, everybody? I double scheduled myself. I had one written, and then I decided I'm gonna cover this, update to the Scion class that Wizards of the Coast is writing. I'm gonna do that first, and then we'll push off what I had scheduled for 2 weeks later. Forgot to do it because I've been sick the past couple days, and so I decided, you know what? Since someone already commented the other thing that went live, I'm just gonna delete this playtest coverage till later. Anyway, that's what happened. But you guys don't care about my D&D writing, do you? You know what you're here for. It's a timely one with a certain trailer that came out since our last episode. Did you guys hear about the Loprit that took up bounty hunting? He changed his name. This is the way.
That's a double dip joke.
It is. I have to toss out, since you gave a Star Wars joke, I have to put out a very bad Star Trek joke I heard before I go any further because it's killing me. My question is, what does Beverly Crusher, the Chief of Security, and Deanna Troi have in common?
What?
One's a dock, one's a wharf, and one's a marina. Anyhow, also with me, we have our resident Chaos Gremlin webcomic creator and a cat mom who wears a bun every day. Recently bought her last Sims 4-pack, I think I know why, and has serious regrets about clicking on just one spider video. Hi, Meagan.
Oh my God, YouTube wants me dead. So I would just like to say the jumping spiders are not real spiders. They're cute little fuzzy creatures with big eyes, and they don't scare me. So I follow a creator on TikTok who has jumping spiders, and she does these adorable little videos where she gives them little squeaky voices and does little skits and stuff. And I wanted to tell somebody else about it, so I had to Google it, and I found her YouTube channel, and so I linked one of her YouTube videos. And now YouTube is like, "Oh, you're into spider content?
You're into that shit, huh?"
Spider. And oh my God, I'm literally. I feel like I'm weird at my spider hatred in that the fuzzier the spider is, the less I hate them. I really hate the spindly ones, because where I grew up, what was dangerous was Black Widow spiders, and I had a few encounters that really fucking terrified me. And so a fuzzy spider is not so bad. A wolf spider is still not great. Never had one crawl on me unexpectedly, or my fucking brother had a Black Widow dangling from his hand on a web and chased me around with it. My family still makes fun of me for being arachnophobic, by the way. They think it's hilarious. But they did this to me.
I now have to express my deep apologies for the torment and torture I may have put your D&D character through at some point in our campaign.
It's okay. They were imaginary spiders. I didn't actually have to look at any. I will say, when Ward first got me into World of Warcraft, we started playing Forsaken, were our first characters. So you can imagine the starting zone with all the Black Widows running around was not great for me. And then our very first dungeon that we did together, because we were playing right when Wrath of the Lich King came out. And so I don't know why. I guess because we were rogues and there was no dungeon finder at the time. We hadn't ever done a dungeon before, and the first one we did was the fucking the bug dungeon under the ice.
The one
with the giant bony spider, and I was literally trying not to look at the screen and do my rotation.
Man. Yeah. I would kill to watch you play Grounded on your own stream.
Oh God, I hate. So recently, speaking of fucking spider shit, so there's a tab on Reddit that's like video feed shit, right? And you could just accidentally slide over to it if you're like, looking through like popular and like my feed. I accidentally slid over to the video tab, and it was a fucking tarantula biting someone. It was like a close up.
Oh no!
And I was like, ooh! And I like went away from it. And then I was like, okay, well, I have no idea how the fuck spider bites and mouths actually work. And my fucking morbid curiosity is getting the better of me. So I went back and I'm looking at this and I'm just like, why is there like a little pink vagina inside this mandibles? There's like, why is the mouth like that? And then I like went down this fucking rabbit hole, and it's like, oh yeah, they like liquidize things, and then they just kind of suck it into their little mouth slit. They don't have like actual lips or teeth or anything. And I'm like, why did I look this up? I literally couldn't sleep that night. I literally spent that night staring at the ceiling. I'm just being like, just seeing that video in my head over and over again, and like, because the video was like, look, she's grabbing onto me. She's not actually injecting any venom or hurting me, but it was literally like the mandibles open and clunk onto the finger, and I was like, oh my God. My peaceful pact with tarantulas have ended.
Yeah. Well, okay then. As far as talking about Final Fantasy XIV goes, there might be some of that today, but I don't know how much. And
are there any spiders in Final Fantasy XIV? Is that why it's the best game? Because there's no fucking spiders?
There are some. I mean, they're not anywhere near as prolific as well, but at least in World of Warcraft, I think they got that filter now where you can make all this like something else.
I think they're mostly crabs now, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's so weird because I think crabs are adorable, and you'd think that they're like the same. There are like moments where I've seen like a crab something out of the corner of my eye, and then be like, oh, it's a crab, it's okay. But like, you'd think they would freak me out because they're like the same shape, and they've got the little spindly legs and everything. But the little fucking eye stalks, man, are just so cute.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's the eye stalks.
Yeah,
and the fact that they're little like flappy mouths, and they put things in them with their big claws. They're just cute. I don't know why.
So as far as what I have been up to, I have not played a ton of Final Fantasy XIV. I will say this. I appreciate how much, or maybe depending on your point of view, how little of a grind this step of improving the relics has been, because now for a lot of you who are about to hear me say this, you're probably going to be like, how is that even possible? But I have not finished updating any of my relics yet. I am still in the Etherwell stage, and I think each of my Etherwells are in the 7,000s right now out of like 10,000. But that's just because I have not been logging in every day. There are some days where I log in and I'll do each of the roulettes, but I'm just kind of going at it at my own pace. And I'm also the kind of person who I don't play a whole bunch of jobs. I'm likely only going to do the Summoner Relic and maybe do the others when I have the tombstones for them. So I don't feel like I'm behind as far as that stuff goes. I'm not doing any Savage rating or Ultimates and stuff. So for the most part, after having done the story part of 7.3, I've just been kind of logging in every now and then. I'm going to be logging in a little bit more because I'm doing the casino stuff again after having taken a few months of a break from it. But the content I've been looking forward to the most from 7.3 is finally coming out. By the time you listen to this, it will already be out because the Deep Dungeon will be out. And that's really the main thing I've been looking forward to. I came to a realization thinking about this earlier today, actually. And that realization is, and I think Brandon's going to be able to relate with this. Maybe not, I don't know, but at least some of it. when it comes to playing Final Fantasy 14, when it comes to the gameplay of Final Fantasy 14, a good majority of the time, the gameplay of Final Fantasy 14 is very unexciting and uninspired to me, and it's stuff that I've been doing for years. Now, that being said, there are elements of Final Fantasy 14 that have very little to do with gameplay and have more to do with community stuff or role-playing stuff. Story is a huge thing for me. The casino thing I've been doing has been huge for me. But whenever the gameplay of Final Fantasy 14 is doing something different from its norm, which is a kind of an example of what Deep Dungeon is about for me, that's when I'm the most interested in it. I've done raids. I've done tons of raids. I've fought tons of bosses. I've done tons of dungeons. I've done that stuff for years, both in Final Fantasy 14 and World of Warcraft. I think that's a big reason why I've gone back to WoW a couple of times for a little while, even been excited about some of the content, talked about the content here. Hell, I was excited about Delves in The War Within and played that for a good whole month. But that kind of content only keeps my interest for so long. And it's not because I hate the content, but because I only have so much time and there's other games out there and other experiences. It hasn't become a matter of I don't like Final Fantasy 14 anymore, but I'm being far more casual with Final Fantasy 14 because there are just other experiences out there and other stories I want to explore and other kinds of gameplay I want to explore. A key reason why I bring all this stuff up is ultimately kind of has to do with what's this podcast going to be about then? And we'll probably get to that in a bit, but some of this kind of like really hit home for me because one thing that has kept us from recording at least once or twice over the past few weeks is that, well, between the three of us, we haven't played a hell of a lot of FF14. And Brandon, I know that for quite a while you've been playing something else, yeah?
Yeah, I actually had two different friend groups who are not in any way associated with each other start talking about Guild Wars 2 again for various reasons. Mm-hmm. And it got me thinking, I don't know that I ever really understood how that game worked because I played Guild Wars 2 when it launched because I had some friends in WoW who were like, talking it up, sharing stuff about the classes, whatever you want to, whatever you want to call them or whatever. It was the discussion du jour at the time. And when it came out, I got very frustrated with the leveling process. I always felt like I was behind where I was expected to be. And when my friends started talking about it, I thought, I don't know that I ever really gave that game a fair shake. Maybe stuff has improved. I'm going to reinstall it since, it doesn't have a subscription fee, so I can do that and just see if anything's improved. I played, probably at least a good solid month of it. I basically remade all my characters because they had been they'd had different boosts used on them and I didn't really understand how to play them anymore. So I just got rid of everybody, started fresh, and finished the base game storyline on one character. And it was a very enjoyable experience. I was having fun with the gameplay. I was having fun with, the leveling system of basically anything you can do will grant you XP and figuring out, okay, well, what is this? What do I need to do in this area? What is happening with the overall kind of game world storyline? Because the leveling process itself doesn't really have much of a story. You're just going around to different NPCs and helping them in, they'll basically have maybe 3 or 4 ways you can progress a bar with them that gets you a chunk of XP when you're done. And then you move on to the next person.
And plenty of bare asses to turn in.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
The storyline is told every 10 levels you hit, there's another chapter of the storyline that is dependent on stuff you picked at character creation and later on stuff you choose to do during the game storyline itself. There'll be choices you have to make and that'll determine which quests you see and so on. That being said, I got to the level cap, which was 8, it still is 80 because all the expansions haven't increased it. And the the level 80 questing was a marked downturn from everything I had done up to that point. The quests were a complete slog. The connections between them were pretty tenuous. And the very last one very clearly was at one point a 5-player dungeon that they converted to a single-player scenario. And they did it very badly. Is from both the storytelling perspective and on the technical side.
You think now, I don't know a hell of a lot about the history of Guild Wars 2, but I mean, there was a period of time where Guild Wars 2 was subscription, then like you paid for it, right?
No, it has never had a subscription.
Okay.
It is a buy it and you are basically free to go from that point forward. I think that's in some ways to its detriment, because when I was looking at the possibility of continuing on beyond the game storyline, because the game, I believe, I don't know if the newest one is released, when I was playing the game had 5 expansions, and I was looking at the possibility of, okay, well, do I need to buy any more of these? Am I going to keep going with this? And the game, between the first 3, I want to say, had the equivalent of patch content between them that was free to anybody who was playing at the time it was released, and it released in stages over the course of weeks.
Yeah.
Now you have to pay for those, except for like the first batch of them, and they don't come with the expansions. You have to pay for them separately. So there was actually a bundle for the first 3 expansions that was like heavily discounted on sale near the end of my time, most recent time, I should say, with Guild Wars 2. And I started looking into it and realized, all that, for lack of a better term, patch story is not included with this. And I started calculating it, like what the cost of it would be, because you have to buy them in, different bundles.
Yeah.
And it was as much as the expansion bundle, the first 3 expansions, to get all that content on top of it.
That doesn't surprise me. But I mean, it's probably, I'm not saying that this justifies it, but they probably had to go with a model like that in order to sustain running the game.
Oh, I don't doubt for a second you're absolutely correct on that. But at the time, when I'm already feeling like a negative experience association with the max level storylines and the storytelling involved in getting us to that point, I'm thinking, do I really want to get involved more with this and throw more money at it when I had such a bad experience at the very culmination of everything I'd been playing up to this point?
Sure.
So, as I mentioned, that first bundle of storylines was kind of a post-game release thing, that is still free because it's shorter than anything else that's come after it. So I thought to myself, okay, let's just go ahead and play through this. We'll get started on it and see if everything is like different than the max level content in the base game I'd experienced before. Let's see if they improved on any of that. Maybe that was just kind of a one-off issue. So I started doing that. The very first quest, I get told, hey, this new group of people that you've never heard of and had any experience with is causing like mass chaos all over the world. And, we need you to go save this particular village. I'm paraphrasing heavily, but, we don't have time to get to the lore of Guild Wars 2.
Okay.
So I go in there, and it's a single player instance. I have one NPC ally, and we get to where, the bad guys are supposed to be, and these portals open up, and like three bad guys come out. And they are just sponges of damage. I'm sitting here pushing, the same few buttons over and over again, going like, can we please move on? Because this is just dull. Finally, they die. 3 more pop out. Exact same issue. And I'm like, is this bugged? What's going on here?
And they're not a threat. They're just a wall, basically.
They're just sponges.
Gotcha.
And finally, I look up over where like basically like the quest objective like area is, and there's a bar. And every time I kill one of these things, a little bit of that bar fills up.
Oh no.
So I'm
getting WoW flashbacks there.
Yes. So I dropped, the second wave of them, and the bar's not even a quarter of the way full.
No.
And I'm just like, I don't know if this is what I have, to come, but this is off-putting enough that I don't want to continue.
Yeah.
So I I got through the rest of the slog that was filling that bar up. And then my NPC ally is like, okay, we've saved this area. Let's move on to the next one. And I said, not a chance. See you later. Logged out, uninstalled the game, re-downloaded 14, and went right back to my cat girl halt and said, okay, at least this thing respects its own story. Because I'm like, it's bad enough that the very final quest of the base game has all these NPCs that you're supposed to care about, but the game makes no effort towards making you care about them reunite after they've been infighting for so long, which, by the way, their story was told outside of the game in a book, and we all know how much love that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then you're like, you put them as my NPC allies in this dungeon, and half the time they don't fight with me. They just kind of stand there going, we're menacing, we're Destiny's Edge, we're legendary adventurers. And I'm like, can you please help me with this wave of undead I'm dealing with? The second part of the second part of the dungeon
Fortune has really made me appreciate a strong MSQ of actual storyline.
Well, the worst part of this dungeon was in the second part, you're on this airship that's very long and narrow. Don't ask me why, but they shoved all of them in like the very back of the airship, and all of the fighting you have to do is at the front. And they just stand back there. Occasionally you can hear them faintly like chattering with one another. And I'm up here like fighting swarms of undead using these airship's cannons to like, murder these undead giants that are throwing things at the airship. And I'm getting knocked down like constantly because the game basically, the way it works is when your HP is depleted, you go into down state, and then you have like these desperation abilities. And if you kill something while you're there, you basically get back up with like half your health.
Mm-hmm.
The only time one of these NPCs bothers to come forward and help me is when I drop, and they will run forward, murder instantly everything that's on the airship with me and still whacking me. And then they'll resurrect me so I can keep going.
Yeah,
and I'm just sitting here going like, you guys are legendary adventurers and you just hang back there and do nothing, expect me to do all the work? What the hell is the point of this? Who designed this monstrosity?
And that kind of encounter, at least the first impression I get, is there doesn't feel like there's any sense of stakes, because if you go down, then they just come up and, annihilated. Now you can go back and do the dirty work.
Exactly. It was such a dispiriting experience.
Mm-hmm.
Getting up to that point where it had already been feeling like a disconnected slog of nonsense leading up to it before then. And then out of nowhere, like, hey, you haven't really cared about these guys for 40, 50 odd levels. We're just going to throw them all in here with you, act like it's a big heroic moment that they stop, sniping at each other over whatever the hell happened in the book you didn't read.
That is interesting. I know a couple people who have dipped their toes in the Guild Wars 2, some more than others. I think even Zim has played some Guild Wars 2, if I'm not mistaken. I'm curious what she thinks of the whole thing. Oh yeah,
my Savage Raid has we have not come back to Final Fantasy 14, but we have tried out just a shit ton of random games, and one of them was Guild Wars 2. I don't know if I even made it out of. I know I made it to the point where we could be together in the same area, but we didn't make it much farther than that. I vaguely remember I was like a little creature with big ears, and I shot a gun, and that's about all I remember.
The story is not half bad until you get to that end point where it just becomes a confusing mess. The gameplay is rather enjoyable because it's very mobile. You basically never have to stand still and cast anything or, use any other abilities. And it has, I don't know if I would even struggle to call it decent underwater combat. And there's a great deal of customization you can do, and it's constantly on the fly. So in that respect, I enjoyed, that level of fiddling around with my build and, trying to maximize how much, pain I could put out there on whatever the heck I'm fighting at a given moment. But I'm a very storyline driven person, and I don't care how good your gameplay is. If the story of what I'm doing does not hook me in, my interest will plummet suddenly. And Yeah, I don't know why they fell apart so hard at the very end, but it was doing nothing for me. So I'm
That's fair.
content. I'm content to relegate it back to the dustbin of your games I have, but am not going to ever install again.
I mean, to be fair, there are people who are critical of Final Fantasy XIV's story and might say that something similar is happening, at least from their point of view and their enjoyment in Final Fantasy XIV. Not everyone's going to appreciate the same story beats the same way in anything, really. But it's an interesting perspective. I've never even tried Guild Wars 2, so I was curious to hear about your story, and I certainly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Meagan, you had said before I hit record that you haven't played much in the past week. What have you been up to over the past month, at least as far as like gaming stuff goes?
Oh boy. Well, the big thing that I've been enjoying is not actually me playing a video game. It's one of my raid members has been streaming Silent Hill F for the rest of us. Which is just a rowdy, hilarious good time in that, like, we're all trying to help. She put the combat on story mode, but she put the puzzles on Lost in the Fog. So we're all just racking our brains trying to figure out these puzzles as we're going through. And we're all goofing off and making jokes and stuff. So it's very fun. And it makes me want to actually try playing it too. Cause I'm like, would I be better at combat than her? I don't know. I'm not generally a like melee combat person, but other than that, I've been playing a lot of RimWorld, strangely. I don't know what caused this. I got recommended a YouTube video of like, I'm gonna play RimWorld and not be a war criminal and like do organ harvesting or anything like that. And I was like, wait, that's how I always play with RimWorld. I'm like, I'm always trying to be like nice and just like make a farm. And so I watched some like tips and like I've always had a really hard time getting like colony like off the ground and like getting it stable. But I finally figured out how to do that. But I've just had like some crazy bad luck at just apps. But that's like when you play RimWorld is like it's less a game and more just like they call it a story generator, and it's literally like you have your little pawns. They each have like a personality. They have likes and dislikes, and they have like skills. And so you're trying to build a little colony, but like they'll have mental breaks and they'll have tantrums and they'll like fight with each other. And then like the game will throw like raiders or like wild animals or like all this crazy shit at you. And
sounds like a fantasy Sims hybrid.
It's sci-fi. It's heavily sci-fi. It's like
sci-fi.
You're on a rim world. Like you're on a world. The traditional version is like you crash land. Like your ship crashes and you and three people crash land. I'm like the overseer, unseen god in the sky telling them what the fuck to do. But like there's three. The other thing about it is that you can't customize your pawns. Pawns are the little your colonists. You have to just hit randomize over and over again until you get one that's like not horrible, or you get two that probably won't kill each other. And so I have been trying to do my own custom scenario, which I'm calling homesteading, and I try to do like a married couple and their children are like going out into the RimWorld wilds to like build a farm and start like a small town. But the problem is that you're just sitting there because like their relationships are also totally random. So I start out randomizing until I get a pawn that I kind of like, and then I go to the second slot and I start randomizing until it says spouse of first pawn. And then if it's just like an utterly useless person who is their spouse, I'm like, is it worth like sitting here spamming randomize another 100 times to get another spouse for them, or do I just suck it up with this? And same with the children. And then hilariously, because they are like their own little people, and if you don't keep them happy, they will just do whatever the fuck they want. I've had it where I've started up the save. One of them is malnourished because they're little RimWorld people, and so they're in a bad mood and they just immediately divorce their spouse. I'm like, I rolled so many times to make you bitches
divorce.
And the other thing I've been doing a lot, at least in the past week, the new Sims expansion came out, which is called Adventure Awaits. And it's kind of like the summer camp expansion, except that you can use the system to create a summer camp to create any custom venue. So it's basically like you could create a building and then you could be like, hey, in this building, let's say you want to make a coffee bar and that turns into a nightclub at night. So you're like in the morning, there's going to be a barista there and they're going to be serving coffee. And then past a certain time, there's going to be a DJ there and they're going to be playing music and the coffee bar person's going to go home. And then at this time, everybody's going to go home. But because if it's summer camp, you're like, okay, there's camp counselors and there's going to be campers there at this time. And they're going to do this activity and this activity. So, it's just like a little scheduling thing. So I get very excited about this. And I decided I want to make a horse camp. Because another expansion pack was Horse Ranch, and I'm nothing if not a fucking horse girl at heart, and so I spend all this time making this really elaborate camp where we've got a main lodge and it's got ping pong and table games and a piano and a dining hall and a kitchen, and then we've got the horse area, we've got a whole stables, and I've even got a little side area that's raising sheep and goats, and it's really cute, and there's a swimming pool for the kids to swim in, and I set up little fireplaces all throughout the place so that they can warm themselves and everything. And so I send my little sim there, and the first 2 days are great. She makes a ton of friends. She's riding horses. She's swimming. She's playing ping pong. It's great. On the last night of the getaway, the lodge catches on fire.
No.
I should have realized might happen in that I put a bunch of fireplaces all over the place because one of the activities you can have is hang out by the fire, which is a very camp-coded activity to do. And so my little sim child, so when you're a child, my child sim is the only sim at this camp. I don't have any adults there. The adults there they're basically NPCs. They're like the counselors. The counselors are not putting out the fire. Yeah. And I realize that my sim's child best friend is in the middle of the flames and is on fire. And I'm like, oh my God. So I call my sim's dad to come to the lot. He's just busting into the campground and trying to put out the fire. He's too late. The kid dies, is flopped on the floor. My child sim is bugged out, is stuck in the campfire outside, not on fire, thank God. And the dad is, he's the only adult I could control. So I'm extinguish the flames. The whole place is on fire. Everything's on fire. Everybody's outside going, and I'm telling people call the fire department. I did not put any smoke detectors in the place. That's on me.
Oh, no.
So everything, I have one singular man trying to fight this huge fire. And my child sim is stuck. And I'm trying to reset her and figure out everything. And then my attention gets pulled back to the dad. The dad is on fire.
Oh.
It's oh my fucking God. Luckily, he can extinguish himself as an adult. So then everything is still on fire. Everything is in total chaos. The Grim Reaper has not yet showed up because the fire is still going. And then the summer camp ends and my sims just get teleported back to their home lot. And we're just standing there and my sim, my child sim has the debuff of grieving, lost best friend. And I'm oh no. And so the one of the recent expansions was called Life and Death, and they added in this whole grief system where you get a style of grief, and her style of grief was anger, and so she's stomping around the house for the next few days, fighting with all of her siblings, punching all her toys, and then all of a sudden I just get a call from her supposedly dead best friend being hey, want to come over to my house? He's fine. Because the camp ended before the Grim Reaper showed up. He just got teleported back home and he's fine. And so I'm what the fuck? So that's how Adventure Awaits is going for me.
Are you sure you didn't buy the Twilight Zone expansion?
Oh God. Oh my God. And the other big thing that comes with this pack is imaginary friends. So
boy.
your child sim can like get a doll. They play with the doll a couple times, and then they're like, make it into an imaginary friend. And so they see like a freaky ass looking child-sized sim that has like, they're terrifying looking. Like, just seriously, just like Google like Sims 4 imaginary friends. The unicorn one is the worst. She has like a pig snout and like little hoof hands. Oh, ugh. Also, she's the unicorn one is evil and will teach your child sim to light fires. I've not been brave enough to befriend that one yet.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
I'm looking at these. No! Oh no! This
They're
is
horrifying.
wow. Yeah,
So
it's a hard pass for me, dog.
So when your child sim is talking to their imaginary friend, they're the only one that can see them. So if you switch to another sim, your child sim is just talking to no one. And like other sims that see them doing that get a little moodlet of like, well, that's creepy. Why is that child talking to themselves?
Like, Sims 4 imaginary friend pulled up images, and like the one that seems to be the most prominent is kind of like this My Little Pony rainbow hair mare that with wings, and I just no.
Yeah, it's like an evil rainbow dash. It's horrifying. I cannot bring myself to do that one. Oh god, it's terrifying.
Oh boy.
So I've literally only done like 2 families so far in this new, because it's like a new expansion pack. So I'm like trying shit out, and like, oh my god, it has been just buggy enough to be just absolute chaos, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Well, I
love this nonsense, and also I'm gonna make like a theater camp. I'm gonna make a space camp. I'm gonna make like so many different like venues and shit. My child Sim's parents right now run artist retreats. They're like 2 hippies, and they run retreats at their house where they just like have a bunch of Sims come over and sleep on the floor in sleeping bags, and then paint paintings for them, and then I get to sell the paintings.
So I think by day, it should be a space camp. By night, illegal turtle racing joint. Where people come to bet on turtle racing.
Oh my god.
And the cops show up.
I had a cat cafe, and the expansion before this was business and hobbies, so you could make your own little small business in your house. And I had like cats around, and then I saw that one of the things that you could have people do is play with like all types of animals. So I bought a bunch of they have these like, they're called like My First Pets, and they're like hamsters or rats or like hedgehogs and like a weird little platypus thing that they call bulbous. The thing is, if you piss these things off, they can bite you and give you a deadly disease called rabid rodent fever. I just lined my walls with these animals, and like my guests were so happy. They were tipping me so much. I made so much money, and I didn't have to take care of the animals because all the people would just come and feed them and interact with them and then get bit by them.
Well, I'm glad that you've been having fun doing that. At least it sounds, I mean, to be fair, Brandon, it sounds like you had a good experience until you stopped having a good experience.
That is an accurate statement.
Yeah. Meagan, I'm glad you've been having fun in The Sims 4. Again, call back to the top of the episode. I hope you are still able to enjoy that game despite despite real world ramifications of who owns that stuff now.
They don't own it yet. The sale has yet to go through.
Gotcha.
So I am like,
are you playing to boycott it if the sale goes through? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Like, no. So I have been boycotting Harry Potter for a long time now. But that was not that difficult for me because like since I've grown up, like my most Harry Potter interaction was like we went to Harry Potter Land at Universal Studios. Like I bought a fucking Hufflepuff mug. Yes, I'm a Hufflepuff. Look, I'm a millennial. I know what my house is. I'm sorry. It's just part of our lives. But like, so I didn't buy the Harry Potter video game or anything. It's like, it wasn't that hard for me to like, not do it. And so I started to, I side-eye anybody who still spends money on Harry Potter shit. And so I was like, fuck, if I don't stop spending money on The Sims when this goes through. But like, I do not have a leg to stand on, and I'm like, I can't. And like, it actually makes me sad and upset that I'm like, I'm gonna have to. Luckily, I can still play with all the things that I already own and that I already bought. Until they start demanding a season pass to be allowed to play or some shit. But
yeah.
I
hope you are able to continue enjoying that for quite some time.
There's a lot of hopium going around in the Sims community. We're like, maybe they'll sell off Maxis and Sims because they just want Battlefield and FIFA.
Right.
I mean, it's not an unrealistic thing to hope for, because whenever these firms like that buy like large companies like this, they tend to sell off parts of it that aren't necessarily performing to their exacting profit-driven expectations.
Well, I've been hearing a lot of
the same thing about BioWare.
The Sims is so fucking profitable though. That's the problem. I don't think they're going to give up the cash cow because like I think it's one of their most profitable franchises, and I contribute to that. So I'm like, I really don't think they're gonna give it up. I don't think they're gonna start like trying to take all the gay stuff out of it or anything like that. I think they're probably gonna do anything that's already in it. They're probably gonna leave it in it. What I think is gonna happen is they're just gonna start microtransactioning us the hell out of it instead of us paying, $40 for an expansion pack that has like gameplay and build items and whatever.
Change.
Yeah, it'll be like, give us $5 for one outfit. Give us $5 for one wallpaper.
Yeah.
And
well, keep puffing the hopium while you still can, and then let's just keep our fingers crossed. Really quick, on my end, if people are wondering what I've been doing that's not Final Fantasy 14 related, I mostly been playing Hades 2, and also been playing a fair bit of both Octopath Traveler 1 and Octopath Traveler 2. Been playing a hell of a lot of Persona 5X, which is that Persona 5 gacha game. Yes, I am playing a gacha game. No, I am not spending hardly any money on that gacha game, and I'm still enjoying it. I play it probably maybe a half an hour a day, and it's fine. It's fun. And if I can play a gacha game and enjoy it without it burning $100 in my wallet every month, then I'm good. And then
stand on because I have been playing Nikki.
Earlier this week came out a little game called Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles.
Yeah, Ward really wants that.
I'm good times. The nostalgia is good. I've enjoyed Final Fantasy. I've enjoyed this remake immensely. Even they've improved the graphics. The funny thing is, yes, the graphics are improved, but the graphics are still, compared to like modern, quote unquote, modern games, pretty fairly basic, but there's still a charm to it, which I enjoy. What I've enjoyed most about playing Tactics is just the gameplay is absolutely great if you're into turn-based tactical combat. I mean, hell, I've played Baldur's Gate 3 for over 1,000 hours, not just because of the story, but because of the combat. And also the story of Final Fantasy Tactics, I would say, even though it is not a main numbered Final Fantasy story, I would say that the story of Tactics is a better story than 90% of the mainline Final Fantasy games out there. And I would say the Final Fantasy Tactics story is up there with Final Fantasy 14 writing. It is really good. It is kind of dark. It is really good.
Aren't they using a lot of the same voice actors as 14?
They are using some. They're using a number of voice actors from 14. The one Final Fantasy voice actor people are bringing up a lot though is Ben Starr, who was Clive in 15. He's playing Dice Darg, which is Rams's brother. One reason why Tactics has such a big thing for me is the very first MMO I played was Ultima Online. This is dating how old I am. Yes, Ultima Online's like, prior to 2000. But anyhow, I named my first character Ramza Duskwalker, and after Ramza Beov, and my I go by the handle Ro. I was big into RPing back in Ultima Online, and when I created Ro in Ultima Online, he was basically the nephew of my Ramza character. So there's a lot of nostalgia and a lot of history as far as that goes, and I will always have a place in my heart for tactics, and the story of it's amazing. If you like story, and if graphic fidelity is not a big deal for you, and you like good gameplay and you like good story, I invite you to try tactics.
If you don't need photorealistic shit, this is the thing. I hate when people are like, "Oh, the graphics aren't good." I'm like, they're just not realistic. They're stylized. They're still very good. They're just not.
Well, they're very stylized, but also like even the up-res stuff that they did for this, it's not. I wouldn't even really say it's up-res. It's cleaned up, but it's not. There's definitely a style to it. It feels like a game that you would more likely play on a portable gaming system than on a console or on your PC, just by the design of it. And in fact, I would say if you have a Steam Deck, this is a great Steam Deck game. That I've mostly been playing it on my Steam Deck. I can play it on my PC, but I choose most of the time to play it on Steam Deck because that whatever hangups I might have sometimes about graphics kind of gets lost when it's on a screen as small as a Steam Deck. But yeah, it's been the big thing for me. So I'm still at heart a very strong Final Fantasy fan. Now, this episode, I'm going to try to cut a little bit short because I have things to do. But before we wrap things up here, as I mentioned, kind of like close to the top of the show, I said we might be talking about if we aren't playing a hell of a lot of Final Fantasy 14, are we still doing this podcast? What's the plans here and such? And we just kind of vaguely talked about this before I hit the record button, but I'm the kind of person who likes to talk things out even while doing it live while we're hitting recording. So I'm just going to toss this question to each of you. No pressure whatsoever. Please be as honest as you fucking want to be because I am down with it. Brandon, do you still want to do this podcast?
On the one hand, yes, because I enjoy the absolutely random shenanigans we get up to. True. And though I feel like I've been endlessly picked on every year we do it, the Waifu Wars and Husbando Hullabaloo are still a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I don't know that I'm necessarily ready to give those up because it's not like we can do them on +5 to hit. But on the other hand, I mean, yeah, maybe the love and attraction to the storyline that we all found ourselves enamored with, which brought us together in the first place, has faded a little bit. Mm-hmm. Maybe we're all like in a different point in our lives from when we started doing this show and started even talking about the game together. I don't know. I mean, I'm personally like eyeing games that aren't Final Fantasy 14, even though I did just return to it with a bit more, thoughts toward, oh, hey, maybe I should actually go play this. I'll be honest with you, WoW's upcoming Legion remix does hold, more than a little bit of interest for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I mean, on the one hand, yeah, I enjoy a lot of aspects of doing this show with you guys. On the other hand, is it dishonest to keep doing a Final Fantasy 14 podcast when we're not playing the game as actively as one might expect?
Right.
I don't have a good answer right now.
And that's I'm kind of in that place too. I think I don't really have a strong leaning one way or another. Meagan, where's your brain at? What was the Goblin Goo telling you?
Final Fantasy is just not a big part of my life anymore. I don't raid. I play other games. I'm still friends with my Savage Raid and I hang out with them every week, but we're just doing random shit now. I really enjoy hanging out with the three of us and talking about random shit. So I'm down to pivot just to general gaming podcast. Be like,
Mhm.
well, let's all play our games, then we'll all tell each other about them and like
Yeah.
give gaming stories or even like movies or whatever the hell else we're doing.
So hearing that, and also kind of been thinking about this myself, I don't think this is the last episode. I don't know how frequently necessarily episodes are going to come out. I still want to aim for at least once a month. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. But I would say that when it comes to Final Fantasy 14, I don't think we're going to necessarily outright stop talking about Final Fantasy 14 because there's the content cycle with Final Fantasy 14. Hell, on the very next episode of this podcast, I may be telling you about my deep dungeon experiences. It's just that simple. But I think this show and the three of us have gotten to a point where just our tastes and our enjoyment and our time spent has evolved. And I think that this podcast needs to evolve too. And one neat thing about this show being called a podcast reborn is that I can just say that the podcast reinvented itself and decided to rebirth itself. So I think the general idea is going forward. If we talk about Final Fantasy 14, great. And if we bring it up, great. There's a little show out there called Core. Done by one Scott Johnson, John Jagger, and Bo Schwartz, who they started out as a Heroes of the Storm podcast, and they are still podcasting today. It has not been about Heroes of the Storm for ages. And occasionally they bring up Heroes of the Storm, but they're now a general gaming podcast, kind of just talking about gaming, talking about the stuff they played and such like that. I don't think that this show is going to follow exactly in that model by any stretch of the imagination. I think if you are looking for a few nerds who like talking about random chaotic bullshit and occasionally talk about Final Fantasy 14 and the other stuff we're into, then you found the right place. I think that Final Fantasy 14 is going to have its ebbs and flows. There's going to be times when we're talking about it quite a bit. There's going to be times when we're not. To answer your question, Brandon, of course we won't get rid of the waifu wars and the husbando hullabaloo. That's happening next year. And we can't abandon that. In fact, allowing us to spread our wings so means that now maybe the next one doesn't necessarily have to be just so heavily focused on Final Fantasy 14. Maybe 14 can have its own bracket, but maybe we give other areas of geekdom and gaming and stuff like that a little more importance. What if anime had its own bracket?
There's so many.
There's so many. So
I feel like I shouldn't judge in that one if that's the case.
We'll see. We'll see. There could be some fun found there. But that's the general vibe that I think that we're getting at. So podcast is not dead. The podcast is changing. This isn't going to be a predominantly Final Fantasy 14 podcast. I will probably make some notes about that as far as like the description of the show and such like that. But if you've enjoyed our chaos for the past, months and years that you've been listening to us, and you want to hear more of that because you like listening to us, I don't think we're going anywhere. So that's why I think that all comes down to. That being said, until our next episode, which I think will be in roughly a month, give or take, Meagan, where can people find you?
I'm most active on TikTok right now. Lots of cat videos. I've also been posting my art there. I'm very surprised at how much interaction my art gets. It's like more than anywhere else that I posted. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. And I've been making little like, they're not really cartoon, they're not really animated, but I've been doing like silly little drawings to go along with clips of our Dungeons and Dragons show and our character interactions and stuff like that. And that's been a whole lot of fun. I've been getting a lot of positive feedback for that. So, yeah. But you can find me anywhere as Catmon Meagan. That's Meagan. It's all one word. And yeah, Blue Sky, Tumblr, TikTok, everywhere. But most active on TikTok right now.
All right, Brandon, how about yourself?
I'm the BMAT, THEBMATT, on pretty much all social networks that matter, except Twitter, which, I guess doesn't actually matter anymore.
Yeah, right.
Mostly I spend a lot of my creative endeavors on my blog, yourquestlog.wordpress.com, talking about a whole bunch of TTRPG topics that I just find interesting. Does anybody else? I don't know, and I don't really care. I write for me. You can also catch all of us on the D&D podcast Plus 5 to Hit, which I do believe I did mention earlier. Yeah. If you enjoy Meagan bullying me, there's more of that over on Plus 5. So have fun with that.
It's not me. It's Clover.
I definitely looking forward to Plus 5 to Hit. We're recording another episode of that in a little over 24 hours from the time of this recording, and I've been prepping for that. And just prepping for an episode of Plus 5 to Hit has been a hell of a lot of fun, even if I don't use 80% of the stuff that I come up with. But yeah, definitely check us out on Plus 5 to Hit if you are into D&D stuff and want to hear our shenanigans there. As for me, you can reach me through the show's Blue Sky account, which is at a podcast reborn. You can also email us at apodcastreborn@gmail.com. And theme music for the show currently is provided by Husky by the Geek. A link to his YouTube channel is included in the show notes. And of course, any Final Fantasy 14 music or Final Fantasy 14 music that you hear on this podcast belongs to Square Enix, and no copyright infringement is intended. That is going to do it for this episode. Until the next one, for Meagan, Brandon, and of course for Butterscotch and Bonbon, this is Brian Black. Until next time, may your loot rolls be high, your glamour fantastic, and your duties always complete. Brandon?
I just realized that this means it may be the end of the FF14 dad jokes.
But this lets you get into new dad jokes potentially.
I know, but I've got an entire list here that I may never get to make all of you cringe with.
You could always do FF14 dad jokes. It could be the one thing that we do about Final Fantasy 14.
Fair enough. And on that point, what do a Namazu and a Lalafell make for dinner?
Oh no. What?
Oh, come on. It's too obvious. Fish and chips.
Don't get the chips.
Potato.
Oh!
Goodbye, everybody.